All right, we're live, or actually we're not live, and that's part of the whole point of this call here, which is not a community call. So welcome everybody to the not community call, which is not live. The purpose for this, whether it gets uploaded to YouTube or not, is basically for us to test out the many changes that are coming to Nym community calls that I already talked about on previous calls. One of them is going to be the name. So we already put up a poll asking you for your ideas about what it could be called, but also a whole bunch of other things. I got some really good feedback from Med over here, who you already know from one of our previous community calls. And also, of course, is my co-host, Hux also has some say in the community calls. Basically, we're going to be testing this format now. This is an offline recording, so it's not live, which gives us a bit more control on, if we want to cut it, edit it, make it a bit more consumable for you guys, and also the resulting production quality should be higher. So that's basically the point of it. We thought that we would make this into a very different behind the scenes sort of experience for you guys, where we're going to be talking about this topic specifically. So our thought process when it comes to community calls, and also wherever the conversation takes us. So yeah, with all of that said, let's get started. How is it going, boys?
So Sudo, this morning I was getting coffee and I said this girl that was having a cap that's saying not everyone needs a podcast. And so basically in this case you're saying this is not a community call, but it's not a podcast. So basically what the hell it is, it's the like the anti-social social club. So it's like the anti-community call community club, something like that.
Okay, let's talk about this first. Do we need a podcast? Should it be a podcast? Is that our direction?
I think there is enough podcasts in this world, man. I think it's cool to have community calls. I think it's cool to basically update the community on what's happening. They can speak with us on Element. They can speak with us on Discord. They can tag us on Twitter, Telegram. So there's many ways for them to reach us. The idea, I guess, that's my understanding, is the goal for us here is just to get a bit more humane and to discuss what we view, bringing some guests. In this one, we have Salazar who come with us. But yeah, I'll let you take it from there, Sudo.
No, but that's a really good point. I do agree. I do tend to agree. Although I do have, hopefully everybody noticed if you guys have been around in community calls, I do have inspirations and aspirations of maybe at some point, hosting a podcast. But I do agree that we have maybe a bit too many of them. How many are there? Like over 2 million at this point, I would say.
I don't know, but there's some really cool podcasts out there, to be honest. I wouldn't dismiss. I would listen to a podcast with you, Sudo. Only if you speak like maybe like 0.75 of your usual speed. Then I would listen to it. Or you can speed normal and I will play it at 0.75.
Okay, you know what?
Another advantage of recording anything, you can just slow down Sudo's voice, like it's 75%.
You know what, guys? I commit to speaking as slowly as I can for the rest of this conversation. I will be speaking slow.
We need to put another poll of the community. It's like, is Sudo speak way too fast? Nobody understands what he's saying. We need the transcript, basically.
Okay. Actually, this tool, guys, just so you know, also creates transcripts. They seem to be pretty accurate. So maybe we can actually upload the pre-recorded things with the transcripts. Oh my God, I'm trying so hard right now not to speak faster. Anyways, so, okay, 2.6 million a podcast according to whatsthebigdata.com. Thanks for the info, Sal. That's pretty insane. All right, maybe let's get into... first, I wanted to ask you, Hux, actually, because you've been around doing community calls with me for some time.
Over a year now, I think.
Yeah, exactly. How would you summarize the purpose of community calls until now? What was the goal? What was the format?
Yeah, for me, the purpose of community calls was really to sort of come with another new exciting topics and sort of present everything like baked cakes, like ready to consume stuff, like a cool guest or a cool topic or a very specific like Mixnet stuff or Nym stuff, which is really, we kind of, bake the cake in the oven and then we present it. Hey guys, like here, ask your questions about, do you like the cake? And I think that that is really cool, and I do hope that we're gonna have super cool guests and do the same kind of things. But just as Matt said, I think the idea here is that we're also part of the community, and we're also thinking about all those things. There's many things that we are not sure, and there's just evolution of thoughts. And the more we open this conversation up between ourselves, like what do we think about the in general about privacy, or why the network, or the state of things online today, the more we can involve people to this conversation and show really the human side of us, just as Matt said. I think that's important to show that we're in this game together, and there's no stupid questions and no bad ideas. We have to that's why we want to kind of open up even the pre-bakery part of the cake, like what ingredients do we put there. Do we go for fruity, or do we go for sour creamy? Sorry for the metaphor, just got stuck.
How do we call the cake? That's
How do we call the cake? Yeah,
exactly.
And how do we make the most sense of everyone's time that they spend on looking at us? Because that's kind of the value here, human attention. I think that attention is the only true value of today for your resource that you free to divide up as many parts as you wish, or to focus it on things. So for people who pledge their attention to watching these calls, either async or some live calls when it's happening, it's a really big commitment, and I do appreciate all of your time. And so let's try to make the most of it, and maybe this way, hopefully, we can digest topics differently, or set the tones for some conversations. So I'm really hopeful that something new, something more inclusive maybe is happening here.
So Hux, how the hell did you ended up here, man? So how did you ended up working with Nym? How did you? Because you were a member of the community, and then eventually you joined the core team.
Yeah.
So it's were you had experience with the Mixnet? Did you meet someone at the conference? How did you ended up here?
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong, we're happy to have you. I'm not saying.
Why are you here? Why are you here?
It's like this guy at this party. Every party, you turn around and you're like, okay, sure, welcome.
Yeah. So just a disclaimer, I'm usually that guy at any party, who's always been there, and kind of the guy who's there at the points in life. Other people.
I can second that. I've been to a few parties with Hux, and that's definitely an accurate description of how he is.
Yeah. So now, long story short, I've been working in the wider crypto space since over 5 years or so now. Been working with some DAOs, some layer ones. Kind of been a notorious crypto drifter, because I really love the technology, and I love the potential and the promise of what it can bring, and how it can empower our entire generation, to take back some control over what's happening in the world, or decide or do our own transactions. Kind of, I could never really find a good enough project or a good enough team who I can, think together or kind of imagine working together. And big part of that reason was that most blockchain projects still to this day don't really create any actual real life value for in the lives of people. I mean, working in a very cool DeFi project is really cool, because you get to build new things, but DeFi projects barely touch third world country hungry mouths, let's say, down the line. So when actually it was just before the first shipyard, when we somehow met with Sudo in a Telegram group, and we just kind of how do you call it when someone likes all your photos? when someone goes and just does this
stalking each other. You start stalking
a bit stalked each other, comments lots of flames and love and so we just had this call, and then he indoctrinated me. And it was a call that lasted 4 hours long, and he explained the white paper and why what the Mixnet is. I never heard about Mixnets before. I did hear about Tor, I did use a VPN, but privacy per se, it never really struck me before this conversation with Sudo 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago now.
So there's something really interesting that you said, which is basically talking about blockchain and their use case, which is pretty much what everybody's talking about. We're I don't know, Bitcoin white paper was what, 2009? So that's 15 years ago, something like that. Ethereum ICO was 2016, 15. Yeah, so it's been a while ago. And then the question is okay, what are the different use cases? So you have the use case, obviously, of Bitcoin is money, Bitcoin is digital gold, store of value. Then you have USDT, USDC, which is very helpful in a lot of developing countries where there's inflation. Then you have like the whole aspect of like modular money happening with DeFi, which personally I think is super interesting, especially when it stays into like a very contained way, and then it doesn't go into like full Ponzi for no reason. And then on the other end, you're like, okay, what are the real actually application outside of the crypto space? And I think NIM is a bit falling into this misunderstanding, because you have the chain, then you have the mixnet, then you have the VPN that will launch on the mixnet, which basically is like, the mixnet is like this layer of privacy that lives independently of a blockchain, but is only possible because of the blockchain. So if you look at like Tor technology or any other technology, it's like, okay, it's cool, but then it has a layer of attack, because, well, it's not a system that's self-sustainable by itself. And that's like the beauty of NIM, where you're like, okay, this is a system that's sustainable by itself, where people are actually incentivized into running those nodes. And because they're incentivized into doing so, the mixet can actually function and scale. VPN is a first product that we're launching ourselves, but then anybody can come and start launching another product on top of the mixnet, or anybody can come and integrate the mixnet
Any chain.
into their own project.
Or
Now the
anything, yeah.
integration is a bit difficult, because you're like, well, if communication is not at your core, then it's like a good to have. It's a good plus. But at the end of the day, a mixnet purpose is for communication. I think the first use case of a mixnet was email, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's interesting, like, to point out the use case, and it's interesting to see, okay, there is actually real use for blockchain that go beyond crypto. And I think NIM sits into this intersection, where from one side we're looking at other Web3 projects or crypto projects. I'm not a big fan of the word Web3. I like crypto more, but that's just me. So we're looking at like other crypto projects, and like, okay, there is integration that could happen with the mixnet, but isn't it almost we should be looking at like app developers and not just Web3 projects, looking at like pure app developers and being like, hey, this is a core technology, a core stack that could be used for whatever app that you're looking to build on top, I don't know. What's your thought on that? And Sudo, please jump in.
Hux, you go first. I need to rest and digest the info.
Sure. Yeah, so I think how you said, Med, like there's the core technology, which is blockchain or crypto, which is the rails of anything decentralized, incentivized system. And I think it's also fine to work on good, train tracks and to develop the most, functional and solid track system where applications can be built. But in this sense, the mixnet does already tackle a real life utility, or there's a real need and there's a real solution. So in my understanding, like if we kind of think in these generations, or like, of blockchain projects, there's the blockchain projects for large pool art, which is just to hash out or flesh out different chain technologies, like how you do the, consensus mechanism, how you do the block signing, how you actually make the entire global state work. And then there's the next step is app developers. Basically, the mixnet is if you look at it as a platform or an app that uses blockchain to actually create value, but it's still in between the actual use cases. And that's why the NymVPN is a really good, product, because it's kind of a gateway thing for people who already use some sort of privacy enhancing VPN tools, but they have an easy way to opt in on this blockchain incentivized distributed mixnet network or infrastructure, which for me is already like, one step ahead in terms of looking for solutions around in society, like what dire needs there are. There's people don't have enough food, people don't have enough water, people don't have enough privacy. It's kind of really the same thing. And the good thing finding a blockchain-enabled solution for privacy.
But do people care? That's like do like you look at the VPN market and it's like, okay, the VPN market is huge, massive market. It's like a 40 billion market, and that's why the reason why NIM choose to go under it. I'm not gonna go into details, but like the big point of it is like, okay, you have this massive market that's frankly offering a bad product to its user, a product that's actually not doing what it says it's supposed to do. NymVPN is a VPN that will do that. And on the meantime, you're like, okay, so there's this massive market that can bring revenue, and that revenue will be redistributed to different validators. And those different validators basically are being paid in the NIM token. And the goal is not really to just make money. The goal is to build like a sustainable system that's being governed by the NIM token, with some real revenue coming from a real use case. But that's like a whole different conversation that we're gonna have. But just to come back to the conversation where do people actually care about privacy? Well, you see it, they're buying VPNs, or they're using, like, think about IPFS and think about unstoppable domains and ENS and some other hosting solutions that are happening on chain. To be honest, most of the projects don't even use them. And the projects that started using them are basically projects that started using them when the regulatory issues started after FTX in the last cycle. So I don't know. Like, if ourselves in crypto and in Web3 are not using it, how can you expect people outside to be using it? Which that's what I love with the VPN, because it's just an app. It lives in your app store. You don't even know that you're using a chain. Go ahead, Sudo. Sorry.
No worries. That's a good point, actually, and it's a big question. You know, when you look around, whether people care or not, right? I think we can like distinguish between companies and projects in the crypto space caring about privacy versus individuals caring about privacy. And it's really not that simple often, because when you do the right kind of surveys and studies, depending on how you ask the questions around privacy, people seem to actually really care if, especially transactional privacy in the States. I believe the study was done for like financial privacy and just general user privacy as well. But on the other hand, one of the big things, like if you've worked in this space for a while, which I have for over 2 years now, and I've obviously had a lot of conversations in my private life about privacy, very often you face the question of, what about bad people doing bad things? It's a legitimate question, right? When it comes to something like NIM, and why would I have something to hide? So I think the does anybody care question is really complicated. I can answer it in a few sentences. One is that people seem to fundamentally care if you present them with the right problem, right? But also, to make that a bit more complicated, since the lack of privacy is not tangible, you can't really feel it in any very direct way if you're living in the West. Different question if you're an activist in Latin America. But for us in the West here, and for a lot of people who make decisions with their wallets, right? It's not actually a real problem because they can't feel it. It's a very intangible problem. That's one thing. The other thing is that when it comes to companies and projects, right? Introducing privacy is additional complexity. I mean, look at the mixnet, right? We can make the argument that the mixnet should be something like the mixnet should be part of the fundamental infrastructure of the internet, right? But it adds a lot of complexity, and we're at NIM, we're just like getting to the point where a mixnet is actually usable for like day-to-day stuff, but it's a lot of complexity. It comes at a bunch of the cost of a bunch of additional latency, bunch of additional like slowdown, all of that stuff. So from project's perspective,
which all will be resolved, by the way.
Exactly. But so people need to show their specific interest in privacy, and they need to like vote with their wallets so that projects and companies care, right? And I would say like it's easy to think from one perspective that these days people don't care about privacy at all, because I mean everybody's using Google, everybody's on Facebook, everybody's using like these tools which are like basically fundamentally built on a constant surveillance of all of us. But on the other hand, If you look at recent actions by Google, right, all of the privacy stuff that they have been doing, and also many other companies, there is, at least when it comes to legislation, which is also like almost always informed by actual public opinion, almost always, I say.
Or never.
No, that's not actually true. I think the current like wave of legislation to like rein in the surveillance problem in the EU, for example, although misguided in some cases, or like the solutions are such as GDPR, the solution sucks, but their heart was in the right place, and I think all of those are fundamentally informed by like end user and citizen concerns, right? So I would say that privacy is interesting to people, but, and this is the big but, which Nim is trying to crack. It is a tough nut to crack, but it also needs to be very simple. If privacy means that that my connection quality will suck, and I will have to like not be able to do all of these other things that I'm doing, then, you know, I'm so used to ordering from Uber. I'm so used to like one tap paying everything. I'm so used to these things. If I have to like remove all of those from my life, then I add like an additional extra 2-3 hours of work every week just to do things not in the private way. Or like in the private way. And people are not willing to do that. So the big, very tough nut to crack for us in the privacy space is how to make things just as seamless, just as integrated, just as simple as the current like big solutions that everybody's using, but in a way that also preserves user privacy. And if that's the case, if it's equal, then everybody cares about privacy.
I don't fully agree with you, Sudo, but you go ahead, Matt.
Go ahead. Let's fight. Come on.
Just a quick comment, and then Hux, you can attack Sudo on this.
No, just disagree.
No, but I kind of lean to agree with Sudo in the sense of basically, when you look at crypto in general, there is a UX problem. When you look at communication and mixednet, it's actually there is no UX problem. It's completely could be solved from the user perspective. Like you could tomorrow build a messaging app that runs on the mixednet and basically completely abstract from the users the payment of the tokens to the different nodes, and you can completely abstract the mixednet is being run by Nim anyway, so you can just plug into it and basically build some credits in a certain way, and your users will never actually know that you're using a mixednet. And I think that's a solution that's possible for Nim. That's not possible today for some other crypto projects because, I don't know, you still need a wallet, you still need a signature. There's still a consensus of the chain that basically you cannot abstract. There are some steps that going forward in that. There are some new other chains that are coming forward, but then those chains are sacrificing censorship resistance. They're sacrificing like a lot of things in order to get like this, let's say, Web 2 experience. Where on Nim side, you're like, okay, at least for the mixednet itself, not for the next gen, for the mixednet itself, it's something that could be completely abstracted and people can live with it if the performance is there. Sorry, Hux, please go ahead. Apologies.
No worries, no worries. And I don't disagree with everything what you're saying, but I just want to point out, I do have some study numbers in my head. I do remember how much people value privacy, and the outcome of the study is that those who conscious enough and understand how the internet is working value it like to the utmost monetary value. So they either have to get a lot of money to get rid of their privacy, or they would pay a lot to keep their privacy intact. But the vast majority of the respondents or the experienced participants do not care at all, like do not value privacy at all, because they, even for $10 gift card, they're ready to give all their data, And I think that the fundamental thing here, what we touched upon, is the user need, or what do people need, and that privacy is an intangible. If privacy is not there today, it's intangible. It's an intangible missing of something. So kind of, I think what's really important to bridge this educational and self-awareness gap, like to make, because just in my case, Matt, when I first talked with Sudo, I did have a VPN. I did think about, I never even imagined that by using a VPN, I might even put myself to bigger danger, because all my data go through a single point. But so these things, I never really went to the thinking extent of how bad the internet is working today, or what the extent of our non-existent privacy. And I think that one thing that always works for me is when users do have experiences of, you know, the Instagram algorithm offering you the thing that you've been talking with your friends. So you say like, you know, personal outdoor sauna installable in 10 minutes, then you're going to see the same ad after a conversation.
Is this true? Is this true?
But
so I don't know. It's like I've been hearing like a bunch of people like, okay, so your phone is listening to you. That's the whole argument. That's the whole argument of TikTok. That was the argument back in days of Alexa. Now people are talking about it with like ChatGPT. Like I saw some piece of news. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, which was talking like Microsoft is gonna record. They're offering this thing where basically it's gonna record everything that you do on your computer, and then you can recall it. I don't know if you guys saw the Black Mirror.
Yeah, it's called Copilot. Yeah, that's their like Windows integrated AI bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, did you saw the Black Mirror episode where basically it's like it's a lenses and then everything that happened in your life, and then you can record it and see it. It's pretty much that's coming. Is it true? Is it true this thing that they listen to you?
Here's the thing. It looks like it is true. The debate is about like some people are saying, "Hey, I just spoke about this. It's impossible for Google or any like ad service to find out other than listening into my conversation." So for example, if you have an Android phone and you have Google Assistant enabled, then you are actually giving constant access to your microphone, listening to the Hey Google command. Same is true with any stuff that works on like a wake up command, and there are some other like applications which put it in their TOS that they can listen to your mic. So on this basis, it may be possible, but on the other hand, what people say, which is a bit more scary even, is that it's not actually your phone listening to your conversation, transcribing them, and then giving you ads based on that. But it's about the algorithm knowing so much about you that it can actually predict your thought patterns and your behavioral patterns with such accuracy that it looks like it's listening in, while on the other hand, you're just doing your stuff, everything is being surveilled, and the model from you and behavioral surplus from all the other people predicts your behavior so well, which I think is even more scarier. So
do you remember when Cambridge Analytica happened? And basically Facebook were getting grilled. I think it was 2016 or 17. And then Facebook added the option where you could go into your Facebook and then download the outcome of the algorithm of where they actually put you.
Since then, there's the Atlas project, I believe, by Facebook, which is the constant ongoing surveillance of even non-Facebook users from all sites that they visit. So that's pretty insane. And also
isn't it this thing that Apple killed? Basically, Apple and Facebook, they had like a bit of litigation on this. You remember when Apple that was a funny time. I think 2 years ago when Apple was launching like all those ads around the world that Apple is like a privacy focused company.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was like analysts were predicting that Facebook or Meta gonna have a massive hit into advertising revenue because they don't have access to like this tracking data and
that was because
I don't know. I'm asking.
I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that was because Apple changed their policy of like how different apps installed on Apple devices can use what was it? I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it was something.
The different cookies. Your cookies would track you on different websites. Apple couldn't. Basically, you couldn't track into multi websites from Apple. That was my understanding of it. But anyway, that's just a side note. I'm pretty sure we can document this with a bit more research. I'm pretty sure this thing is out there. Yeah.
So the two things is worth mentioning here. I think that one part is that this is how the big data algorithm works. That there's so much data about all of us that is just targeting you, and you're obviously not gonna not gonna pay a lot of attention to the ads that don't really fit your persona, because that's, you're not even noticing it in your newsfeed. But the ad that fits your needs or your persona or what you talked about, it's like, oh wow, I just talked about this. So I think that one really important thing, and it goes back a little bit into our conversation where Matthew said that, or both of you said that providing privacy just as conveniently as as people use the internet today. So I think there's a bit of a tough nut to crack there, because basically the current internet infrastructure is convenient because of all the data that's being recorded. So you get the good user experience, you get the good Spotify recommendation because Spotify knows what you listen to. So if Spotify is not recording all your user data on the app, then it's having a really hard time recommending you a good song. So the more someone knows about a user, the more convenient, easy to use, and personalized service we can provide. So I think that big part of this collective maturity to understand that privacy is definitely a need for us individually. For me, that I want to use something more than a free VPN, or what that kind of comes with an understanding that we do have to make compromises in a way also, especially in the first time. So currently the most hardcore privacy hardware or software are really, really not intuitive. Usually they're hard to use. Usually you have to go a really long length, to install such a program on your computer for, to begin with. So it's kind of it's a really long way how the current internet convenience is working and how privacy preserving tool convenience is working. I do think that there's a long way to go, and the NymVPN is, I think, a stellar solution, for this, because it gives you a convenient and friendly way to access hardcore privacy settings or internet environment. But I do believe also that users have to understand that, if your digital integrity or your data is really important for you and you don't really want to participate in the digital panopticon, out there in the online desert, then you do have to compromise. Maybe you're not going to be able to use some, Google login enabled mass data harvesting stuff, or maybe the internet speed when you browse, through the mixnet is going to be slower. But I do think that it's actually a really nice experience figuring out that it's actually worth for you to go browse a bit slower, wait 2 more seconds for a website to load, if that enables you not to give out all your metadata when you do so.
So
Hux. Well, just let me reflect on this a bit, because so Spotify, you mentioned Spotify, right? It's interesting, the question of Spotify, because it's definitely part of the whole new model of collecting info about you and then using it supposedly to make things more convenient and relevant to you. But also it's one of the least atrocious examples, right? Because in the case of Spotify, what it knows about you is really your taste in music, and then it recommends you music based on your taste in music. But then, so I think it's important to separate the issue with something like Google or Facebook versus Spotify, right? The Spotify model and this data-driven, we learn about you and offer you stuff kind of model is sort of acceptable, although it's worth reading the Age of Surveillance Capitalism, because the book mentions the question of Spotify specifically, but it's one of the better examples. But then on the other hand, you have Google or Facebook, where the important difference, I think, is that on these platforms you don't pay money. Actually, in some cases you do. If you're a premium, if you're a Google One subscriber or whatever, then you can pay money, but the service is free, and the business model is actually gathering all that info in any way possible, not only about one thing specific that you're doing. So for example, YouTube does not only collect information about your, video viewing habits and what you're interested in, but also ties all of that info into the broad picture that Google has about you, and then uses it to serve you ads everywhere on the internet. Not to mention when you're visiting any random website and there's 1 pixel following you around from Facebook, right? So these two things I would set apart, because the Spotify model is very different from the Google model, and I think the latter is way scarier. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Do you think ads, it's a very good segue that you're putting there. So you're basically saying that the monetization of internet led to this non-private and very intrusive environment. And
Yes.
basically, if there is another business model of internet, Because when you think about it, it's like, okay, I'm pretty sure like Google and Facebook and whoever company out there that's like a big massive company are also concerned about privacy. They're also concerned, they don't want to deal with like all the infringement that different governments around the world are asking them. They don't want to deal with like, if they could design a system that's like fully private by design, they'll be quite happy. Probably they'll be happy to do it. The issue is this is clashes with their business model.
Exactly.
So the problem of the internet is not that the rails are bad. It's just the rails were designed because of the incentive, and the incentive is to track you so we can serve you ad and sell you shit.
Exactly.
And now you're like, if we have different incentives, which that's what crypto pretty much offers, different incentive than ads. If we have a different incentive, then we can use different rails that don't need to, because even when you look at Proton, so Proton VPN recently had, they gave the data of a Catalan activist in Spain. And I'm pretty sure Proton VPN doesn't want to do that because, well, it's not good for them.
PR.
Yeah, it's a bad PR.
It's not just bad PR. Yeah. Like Proton really looks like they take this thing seriously. I don't have any reason to believe that they would want to give this data. I believe, I can't remember once again the specifics. It's too bad, but
they don't have a choice.
Yeah, they did not have a choice. They were actually in some pretty nifty like legal tactics. They were forced into giving that data, which actually the question that you should ask from yourself is that if Proton, one of the better actors in this space, can get into this situation, then what are the risks of the data existing in the first place? And this, for me, is one of the big things about Nym, that the data actually does not exist. So even if you come to me with a gun to my head and say, give me the browsing habits of Hux, nobody would care about that anyway.
I can't.
But I just literally can't. Like, you can kill me, I can't. So that's a big thing, and I think this should be like on a systemic level built into more of the stuff that you use, because otherwise, tyranny is very much possible. Yeah, interesting stuff.
And that's the big case also about like basically crypto money and Bitcoin and those type of things, which is like, even if you want to seize it, you can't, and this is the same thing. Your data, even if we want to store it, we can't. And that's like a big value add. But now it's like, how can we rethink a world where the incentive of tech builders will be to build with the privacy first in mind? And basically, I think the only way to do that is the consumers who actually care, who vote with their dollars. So me, if I actually care about this and I see a bad practice that I'm not happy with, well, I'm not going to buy this product. I'm not going to buy this service because I cannot trust them. And the bad actors that rely on you and harvest you will actually go out of business. And the good actors who actually care about your values and care about what you're doing and basically are trying to sell you a real product and service that's useful without having to harvest you behind it or harvest your data, those are the ones where you should give the money to.
Actually, to get back to a question that you asked earlier about ads, whether ads are the source of all evils. Now, not everybody agrees with me on this. For example, Harry once said, I just remember him saying it in one of his talks, that he thinks that ads in general, without the current situation, are not that bad. I do agree with that sentiment, but on the other hand, I do see ads, the ad business model, at the center of many of the ruts when it comes to the world today. Like, if you didn't have anyways, I'm not even going to go into the problem of ads. Everything that we talk about when it comes to the surveillance business model, it basically all boils down to companies being able to serve ads to you, specifically you, and you buying stuff, right? So that's the very accurate situational assessment. But what I would like to respond to, Matt, because you said something very interesting, decentralized technologies, for example, specifically Bitcoin, or crypto in general, do offer a solution. So, like, if there was, instead of a website showing me ads, I would have the option to, I don't know, put $20 worth of something in a wallet, and I'll be browsing just like I normally do, and I would be like making micro transfers based on the time I spend on each site and stuff like that. I'll be the first one number one, like person number one on the list to sign up for that. And so a lot of the stuff that we have, including the surveillance model, including how governments treat our data, the fact that we have to like provide all of this bunch of information about everything that we do and we are to prove that I'm Simon, right? While on the other hand, as you probably know from earlier community calls and stuff like that, with zero knowledge credentials, we now technologically don't have to do that. In a similar way, we now don't have to have ads because I can have just, you know, some extension running in my Chrome browser, and I can just support all the content that I consume without ever seeing a single ad. This stuff is already in place, but the business model of the alternative is very strong and very huge. So I think it's our job to start building these solutions in very easy and simple ways, and then spreading the words about them so that everybody starts displacing the current business model with the new one.
Yeah, offering alternatives.
And then adjacent solution, similarly, like trying to figure out how to do something differently, is what the BAT token is doing, the basic attention token is doing in the Brave browser. You know, so basically you get paid in BAT tokens if you watch ads, which I also find really good, because if you do have the capacity and you do want to be a target audience for ads, then they actually should be paying you for watching through that content.
So Hux, do you understand how this token works? Because to be honest, I never really digged into it. I know it's been around for a long time today. Yeah. Was not a super successful experiment. How this, like, it's basically people when they buy ads, they buy it with BAT or they pay money, and then if you watch the ad, you get rewarded. It's like a marketplace of ads and attention that's being powered by BAT. I don't know.
I think yes, but to be honest, I only went to the extent of actually, you know, using Brave browser, getting the BAT tokens and watching ads. So I only participated in the you know, experiment on the user end. So I
didn't look into the dynamics.
I didn't look into the dynamics, and probably I guess it's something along the lines that you said, that it's like an attention marketplace where people kind of, you know, rent space and they give him some money to compensate you via BAT tokens. So I think it should be that, but probably it needs still some, you know, work to do on the value cycle side, because if it is around since a longer time, and if it hasn't picked up, it means that something is not really working out in terms of the new model.
For a different call, Sudo, I think it would be really cool to bring a researcher who basically understand this whole ad market and like what those companies are doing. And it could be really interesting to discuss. I think we would learn a lot because now we're like having a lot of assumption, we're having a bit of knowledge, but myself, I'm not a researcher. And I would love to speak to someone who actually understands this in a more technical detail. That would be very interesting discussion in my opinion.
Thank you. I took note of that. Big thanks. Now, actually, with that, for the final 8 minutes, because I do realize that, Matt, you have to go. I wanted to talk to you about the calls themselves. Let's have the call about the call. So community calls are going to be renamed. Like we said, you know, they are going to be shifting in their focus, and there's going to be a bunch of new stuff happening. And Matt, you and I had a conversation about this, and you gave me some really good advice as to like what kind of directions to pick up. Can we recreate that discussion? Can you summarize what you told me earlier?
You want me to remember with all the gibberish that I say all the time?
Yes, he does want you to remember. Yes,
Matt, I do care about you. I remember everything that you ever said, so I can sort of rehash and summarize if you want. Should I do that? Should I put words in your mouth?
I can start and you can follow. Basically, where I think it's important is for the community to understand NIM projects and the motivation that we have with the NIM projects, the people in the team, and then try to have conversation about like the mission, which I think there is a lot of people who are like into this mission of privacy preserving, privacy tech, anti-surveillance, which is like very scary words when you think about it. It's like when you think about like cases of like government infringing on privacy or company infringing on privacy. But I think it's something that like goes a bit lower level. in the sense of like, we don't have to look at those edge cases for people to actually relate to the problem. And if we approach it from a very humane way, approach it from a very humble way, from a learner way, I think the community could really enjoy that. That's why I was saying we should probably bring someone that specializes into ad markets, that specializes into tracking, just to understand how things are being done, and why it's important for us to work against it. To be honest, I probably said some other things that I don't remember, Sudo. So please go ahead.
Yeah. This is one of them. I guess the thing that you left out, which we tried to make this conversation into one of those, and also we're gonna be doing more of this kind of stuff, which is more personal, right? So one of the big things that kind of clicked for me when we spoke is the fact that I approached community calls. My initial idea with community calls back when I started them almost exactly 2 years ago was I realized after joining the team how many amazing, super smart people we have on the team. And then I was like, okay, I have to bring these people in a structured way more often in front of our community, because it's very important for the community to see who's working on this tech, right? Which is great, but I really focused on their credentials or their sort of professional aspect, right? Which is very interesting when it comes to someone like Claudia or Harry or Jaya. But they're also people, and they're super fascinating people. And I guess it is one of the things that we want to bring into these community calls, which will be renamed as well, is more of the personal angle. At least a few episodes will be meet the person, like meet Jaya or meet Harry or meet whoever it may be from the team, and just have a chat with them. How did they end up at Nym? What's their story? What's their background? So that was one of the super valuable things. The other thing that you said actually today, which is going to be one of the other types of calls that we're going to be doing, is interviews. Not only with what you said is true, that we can bring on an infinite number of people from other privacy projects and stuff like that. They're trained professionals. They know what to say. They have like PR training and whatnot. That has its place. It will happen. We will continue to bring very interesting guests from other projects to you. But also there are some people in this world who are doing some super risky but very important work, who actually need privacy in their lives. They have no platform in most cases. They have no place to talk about their actual experience. Those people who are at risk, who really need privacy, and it would make for some very interesting conversation to bring those folks on board as well. So these are the two major things that I took away from our chat, and I'm grateful for that, because we're going to be incorporating all of that into calls going forward.
Just to be clear, Hux and I are not part of the super smart people that Sudo is referring to. We're more on the left curve of the situation.
Simple but honest, no? Like, we just ask our questions and that's it.
This is the call of the smooth brains, guys. This is a smooth brain gang. We're all three of us are, very small, very smooth brains. So if you want a big, more, wrinkled brain, then talk to someone like Harry or Jaya, maybe. So that's very true. Thanks for the disclaimer, Med.
Well, thank you very much, guys. It was really fun to catch up with you. Always a pleasure. Salazar, you didn't talk much, but thank you for being here. Take care, guys.
See you soon, guys.
Take care. I think I'm going to do just a little bit of an outro, which we may actually cut out. This was the first of many. Again, big changes are coming to these calls, some of which we didn't even mention. Hopefully this was enjoyable. We'll see what it's like to watch it back. Maybe we upload it to YouTube. In case we do, hi guys, it was nice of you to join us. We're likely going to do it as a premiere, so it's going to be as if it was a live stream, but it's not going to be live. I want to state that most of our stuff still will be live streamed. I really like to hang out with you guys live. That there's a whole atmosphere for us to do that, right? So that's gonna be the major thing still going forward, live streamed calls. But some of them, especially those that we want to make sure that are exceptionally good, right? For example, presentations by team or something like that, we're gonna be recording offline instead for higher production quality. So That's going to be the nature of things. Please, if you have any ideas as to what to call these calls going forward, then let us know. And big thanks for Hux and Matt for joining me today. And also Sal.
Just one question. Where's my POAP, please?
No POAP today. I mean,
Also,
actually, we could.
If we have musicians in the community who want to do an intro for those calls,
Would be cool.
please submit. We might have some name rewards for you guys if you do that.
Yep, definitely. Oh, and also, we actually, so I'm not decided on the POAP yet completely, so we could premiere this video tomorrow, and if there is a POAP, then you're going to find the link. And wait, what should be the secret phrase?
I think we don't say a secret phrase. We find from the recording one good secret phrase, and the reward is to watch the entire thing through and find the secret phrase, which was coming from one of our rambling sentences, and kind of like a treasure
Do you like to
hunt.
torture people, Hux? Do you
treasure
hate
hunt.
people?
Guys, I need to run.
Yeah.
Bye, Matt. Catch you later.
Matt.
Take care.
Yeah, like a treasure
So-
hunt. It's like if you tell the POAP secret phrase in the end, then people just gonna go to the end and get the POAP, and we want the other thing that people watched through the convo, no?
Okay, so we interesting.
So what we should be saying with the video, like, look for this POAP secret phrase around these thoughts or these discussion pieces, right? Or something, and Sudo said it, and I don't know. Yeah, Sal? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. I like it.
Okay, but either way, guys, I'm gonna be, so if we premiere, I'm still gonna be hanging out in the chats, probably with the official NIM account, so we can still like recreate the nice live vibes. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this sort of off the cuff, different, strange, not community call, which is not live streamed, and catch you guys later. Bye, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.